In ECK, we have our own kind of non-directed prayer, and this is the blessing of the Living ECK Masters, which is essentially the same as Thy will be done. But we say it as, may the blessings be. We don't say, God bless this person, or God, heal this, because it gets very difficult if you have an illness to say, God, I need more red blood cells. Produce more red blood cells. May be exactly the wrong thing. You might need more white blood cells for all I know, If you have a health problem, or if you have a problem finding work or keeping the job you have, or anything, a problem in your relationships with your loved one or someone not so loved. Sometimes maybe instead of saying, God, help me be stronger, maybe just try, Thy will be done. Soul exists because God loves it. Soul exists because God loves it. That means you exist because God loves you. Not because you've done anything right. Not because you're here and God owes it to you. And if God doesn't know it, we'll pass some laws to make God love us. We're all powerful with our human laws. We try to become God in using them, and all we do is make each other miserable.
If your prayer sounds like a grocery list than an opening heart, you are missing the point. There is a higher law at work, and if you don't learn how to work with it, you keep wondering why nothing changes. This isn't to shame anyone. It's a wake-up call. Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my Journey Faith for Compassion Hub. I'm Beatrice. This part 3 of Harold's talk, Bless This Day. Today we walk through spiritual planes, the light and sound of God, how our speech and prayer shape life, and most importantly, how to pray and live so you're cooperating with the high flow instead of fighting it.
Earth is at the base of this series of planes of existence, and so there are more rainy days than sunny days, I might say. And the higher you go, there are more sunny days and fewer rainy days. And then at a certain point, at the soul plane, which is just above the mental plane, the soul plane is the first of the true spiritual worlds. And this is where soul exists in the light and sound of God, directly. Now, what are the light and sound of God? These are the two aspects that Christianity has called the Holy Spirit. This is the voice of God. The voice of God comes down through creation as light and sound. We take these two aspects of life for granted here. We see the lights around us. We see the sun. We see the moon. We see stage lights, auditorium lights. We take them for granted. And I guess it's easy to take things like secondary manifestations of the light of God for granted, meaning the man-made creations like the light bulb, because we have them. We're used to them. We can buy them for $1 or $2 in the store when we're shopping for groceries. And if you can buy anything in a grocery store, it can't be spiritual, can it? And sound, in the 1870s, 1880s, 1890s, there were speakers that used to go around the country giving lectures on one thing or another. Sometimes they were humorists, such as Mark Twain or Robert Ingersoll. He was the great agnostic. They drew sometimes into auditoriums as many as 10,000 people. And they didn't have the benefit of a microphone as I do. They learned to project their voices, but they were working with a sound. And their words, according to their state of consciousness, had the power to change the consciousness of other people, of thousands of other people. Some misuse or mistake, or I guess misuse this power of speech, which is an aspect of the sound of God, through their human voice, by trying to control others. Sometimes the human voice is used to control the destiny of nations and to enslave others. Well, this is a misuse of the sound. Sometimes people use their voice, which is an aspect, again, of the voice of God, by talking ill of others when there is no need to. This also is the experience of soul, because the seeds we plant come back to us. These things come back. But most people don't believe that. They don't believe in this principle of karma, this principle of cause and effect, that the things we do come back to us. And when they come back, they educate us, they educate soul. But often soul does not make the connection between cause and effect. And it doesn't, because these events of the cause where the person broke the spiritual law to the time where the person had to pay the price for breaking the spiritual law, sometimes these two events are spread out days apart, weeks apart, months apart, years apart, and a lot of times lifetimes apart. Another Eckankar was offered, or actually pushed, promoted, into a job for which she was not qualified. She didn't have the skills because she hadn't gone through the long period of training for a very technical field. And this should have been a job where she should have said, "Bless this day, I have a job another day." But every time Sunday night came and she faced work on Monday, she always asked the inner master, "Please help me to remember," because her job involved knowing so many details that it was very hard to make sense of all. She worked in a government office, and there were so many orders and regulations and things that seemed to make no sense to her at all. So she'd always ask the inner master before going to work, "Please help me to remember." And she didn't realize until later that by putting her attention in this way, it was like a directed prayer. It's saying, "God, I have a lot of fears about my job. So I know how we can get rid of these fears, God. Help me to remember that, God. If you could do that, then we'll be okay. And then I can bless another day." You know, this is what people do so often by directing prayer. Because we think, in our own ignorant state of human consciousness, that we know better than the higher law. And there will be inequities. There will be the law so often of might makes right, the power to coerce, to force others less strong to do the will of the strong. Because it's earth. It's the testing ground of soul. The place where soul learns to become a co-worker with God, learning patience, tolerance. Sometimes after that same soul has been impatient and intolerant with others. And it comes back then, sometimes a person is strong while young, becomes abusive and power hungry, controls others. And then this person gets old, loses the power, and younger, younger people come in and do the same control over this individual. And never do any of the actors in the play realize that they are playing out the spiritual laws of life of cause and effect. So she had this prayer, this directed prayer, please help me to remember. And then one day, after a series of dreams and inner experiences, she came to a higher state of consciousness. And one day, as she was doing her spiritual exercises while driving to work in her car, she just said it different. She said, bless this day and those I serve. Because in her government office job, she had to serve other people. The public, you and I. Bless this day and those I serve. In other words, she wasn't anymore directing God how to make her better at her job by helping her remember. She was asking the higher law, the higher power, to make her a more effective coworker with God. Bless this day and those I serve. Not those I badger, not those I bully at the counter. None of those things, but those I serve. And from then on, she found that she had a whole different outlook on her job. She enjoyed it. She began to enjoy going to work. And even more, she found that this maze of regulations that she had to carry out for the government began to make sense because she could see them from a higher level. She saw how they tied together. One time, the Spindrift organization of Pennsylvania, this is an organization that has done a lot of experiments in the lab trying to prove that prayer works. And so, they set up experiments where they have plants and they directed prayer, and they had a control. They'd always have a control A, and then B would be the prayed side, and then they would see if there were any difference in growth of different things. And they did these experiments for a while, and then somebody had an idea. They said, okay, we've proved now that prayer changes things. But now let's see if there's a difference between this sort of directed prayer, in other words, saying to the little plant, grow, And then, it grows. Why? Because, somebody told it to. It had to. And another kind of prayer, which is the non-directed prayer. And the non-directed prayer is more along the lines of thy will be done. So they took this little plate and they had some mold on it, and they put it through a solution, a quick rinse of alcohol. This was to give the mold a shock to almost kill it, but not quite. Then they drew a line right down the center. The A side was the control side. They wouldn't pray for that side. That was just going to see how did the control side, did the mold grow back or wouldn't it? The B side, they had people do non-directed prayer, which was on the order of not grow, you little green molds, grow, They didn't do it like that. They just said, thy will be done. To the B side, they looked at the B side. Thy will be done. However they wanted to do it. But basically, by doing this, people who truly do this are giving goodwill to life. They're passing along the love of God to other people and things. And so they did the experiment, and they found that non-directed prayer worked better than even directed prayer. That they did other experiments, and they then found that the non-directed prayer was better than the directed prayer, where you're trying to tell God what to do or tell life what to do or things what to do. And some kind of attention on a plant or something was better than nothing at all, because they had tried the different ranges of experiments. In ECK, we have our own kind of non-directed prayer, and this is the blessing of the Living ECK Masters, which is essentially the same as Thy will be done. But we say it as, may the blessings be. We don't say, God bless this person, or God, heal this, because it gets very difficult if you have an illness to say, God, I need more red blood cells. Produce more red blood cells. May be exactly the wrong thing. You might need more white blood cells for all I know, It's this sort of thing. Directed prayer doesn't work as well because it depends upon the human consciousness and all its ignorance. But non-directed prayer depends upon the power, the divine power, the higher power, upon the power of God. So whether you say, Thy will, not mine, be done, or as we in X say, may the blessings be, this is the proper spiritual way to direct your own life. If you have a health problem, or if you have a problem finding work or keeping the job you have, or anything, a problem in your relationships with your loved one or someone not so loved, sometimes maybe instead of saying, God, help me be stronger, maybe just try, Thy will be done. Because it's an unconditional love that makes such a prayer. And this is important because what many people don't realize is that God's love too is an unconditional love. It's an unconditional love. Soul exists because God loves it. Soul exists because God loves it. That means you exist because God loves you. Not because you've done anything right. Not because you're here and God owes it to you. And if God doesn't know it, we'll pass some laws to make God love us. We're all powerful with our human laws. We try to become God in using them, and all we do is make each other miserable. So as I conclude this talk, it's been a good day. I would like to say, bless this day. And as we bless this day, we realize it was another opportunity to grow, to see, to know, to be. These are aspects of soul, to see, to know, to be. No matter what our age, whether you're a child, whether you're very old and have seen all the seasons of life many, many times, as long as you have the love of God in your heart, you will always have this instinctive urge to see another day and to say good night to this day as bless this day. May the blessings be.
Just laid out something huge. Earth is a base level, a place with more clouds than clear skies. As we rise in consciousness, the weather clears, the soul plane. That's where we meet the actual light and sound of God, the inner current that guides everything. For those who doesn't know the soul plane, I will actually make a separate video speaking about only planes. The spiritual world is not fantasy, it's a living reality. And you are in a school where lessons is love, delivered in 1,000 small ways. Here is the blunt truth. A lot of people think prayer is a demand. They speak, they order, they try to micromanage the divine. And then they are shocked when life hands them a lesson instead of a checkbox on their wish list. And that's the human trap. We fall into it because control feels safer than surrender. If you keep telling the universe what to do while ignoring your inner guidance, stop wondering why you are stuck. You are driving with your rear view mirror and complaining that the road ahead is dark. Harold points out the power of speech. Our words carry spiritual weight. They plant seeds, they steer air, they ripple outward. That's why harmful speech comes back to educate some. And yes, it's the law of cause and effect, which is karma, not a punishment system, but a learning system. The universe returns what you send, so soul can read the lessons. And remember the woman Harold told us about? She began by praying for help with the direct prayer, God help me remember. And that's practically human understandable. But that kept her anxious and small. She shifted. Instead of trying to control the outcome, she started saying, bless this day and those I save. Broad surrendered purposefully. And everything changed. Her tension eased, her work made more sense and felt guided. Not because magic happened, because she stopped ordering reality and started cooperating with the divine current. Let's stop pretending. If your prayers are mostly requests to fix your comfort, you are asking for rescue, not transformation. But that's fine. Just don't expect deep soul answers. You want different results. Show up differently. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are a soul in training. The divine current isn't your enemy. It's the instructor. It's powerful and loving, but it will not spoon-feed the lessons if you keep demanding answers on your terms. Stand up and pray with surrender. Speak with intention. Move with love as your backbone. That's how we become a co-worker with God. Not someday, but now. Let me ask you, what are you trying to control that you could instead of surrender? What one loving action will you take today to match your prayer? Thank you for walking this journey with me. Bless this day. Be fierce in love. Be a co-worker with God. Don't forget to like and subscribe this video. Share it with someone. Until next time, I love you all.